How did Titans rookie Elic Ayomanor defy all the odds after being born in Medicine Hat, Canada, only playing 9 high school football games, get a D1 scholarship, and then drafted in the NFL? Well, our Justin Melo talked to Elic Ayomanor and to the Canadian scout who found him and put him on the map, Justin Dillon. We're going to break down Elic Ayomanor's journey from unknown Medicine Hat, Canada native to NFL draft pick. This is the Music City Audible. What's up, everyone? Justin Graver and Justin Melo here for another Music City Audible minisode looking at Elic Ayomanor's journey. Justin, you did some great journalistic work here, reporting, digging, whatever you want to call it, talking to Elic Ayomanor and talking to the scout who found him, Justin Dillon, to understand how a guy who was born in a city that before Ayomanor had only produced one NFL player in the history of its existence, who only played 9 high school football games, got a D1 offer, and then was drafted in the NFL. What's the story here? This is a crazy, against all odds type of story here for Titans rookie Elic Ayomanor, who, by the way, has been tearing it up in 2 days of training camp for the Titans.
That's the reason we decided to make this episode, right? Because Elic Ayomanor's looked really good at training camp so far. You and I have both projected him into a potential role, like a legitimate role this coming season. If you haven't read the story, it's live on Titansize.com right now. It's headlined, Titans rookie made it to the NFL the hard way, and then in brackets, and he's just getting warmed up. As you all know, I'm a Canadian native, so I took some interest in this story with Elic Ayomanor from Medicine Hat, Alberta, Canada. I'll be honest with you, though, that's not what drew me to this at all. If Ayomanor was from the American version of Medicine Hat, like some sort of small town, and made it to the NFL, it would have been just as interesting to me, and I mean that, and I would have had just as amount of interest in telling this story. Like, I'm from Toronto, okay, Medicine Hat to me, like I don't even know where it is. Like it's I'm being honest with you. Like it might as well be like, what's that fictional town in Fargo, or is it not fictional at all? Like CO Falls, North Dakota. Like that's the Canadian version of Medicine Hat. Like it's absolute middle of nowhere. I gotta fly like 5 hours to get there. Put it that way, like or close to it. So, but he became the second Medicine Hat native to make it to the NFL. Well, how did he do it? Well, it started back when he was like a preteen. I tracked down, I saw his name mentioned in an ESPN story like 4 months ago, and that's where this idea came to me. Justin Dillon, who is based here with me in Toronto, runs a Canadian-based scouting service where he's not a scout though, okay? He relies on spotters, and so what he does is get talent to U.S. programs through his relationships. He's not a scout at all. But what he relies on is what he called them spotters in every major Canadian province to contact him, essential scouts, to be like, hey, there's this kid here who looks legit and is really good. That's when he comes on board. He watches the tape and says, okay, this kid is good enough to work with me. I'm going to try to get him in front of American programs.
He noticed some traits, right? And you talked about in your article that he mentioned specific traits that he knows that American football programs are looking for. Because obviously there's, rule changes in high school. In Medicine Hat, they play CFL rules, which is just a very different game than NFL. So he's looking for what? Speed, hands, natural hands, catching ability, and Ayomanor displayed these traits?
Size is another one. Obviously, Elic Ayomanor is a big guy. He was already a big kid at that age. The speed was incredibly evident on tape. So Justin Dillon comes on board. And, first of all, like I talked to Elic Ayomanor about this, and he had to remind me, he's like, I was really young. Like, this wasn't really a decision for me to make. Like, when he told me he can get me in front of D1 coaches, I was like, sounds good. Or I'm 12, 13, right? Like, that conversation happened between Justin Dillon and Ayomanor's mom. Like, that's who was making the decisions, of course, at that point, right? So he comes on board. He gets Elic Ayomanor's mom on board, starts sending out the tape, working the relationships. Because I'll tell you, if you're not familiar. If you're not familiar with Justin Dillon, like his resume for doing this, the Brown twins, Chase Brown and Sidney Brown, who are playing high-level ball right now. Nathan Shepard, who's been in the league for quite a while at D tackle. Josh Palmer, probably the biggest success story that he has. Palmer just signed a lucrative deal with the Buffalo Bills in free agency. He has like 2,500 career receiving yards, 4 years with the Chargers. Justin Dillon called him the best Canadian player I've seen, the best one I've scouted. So said Elic Ayomanor reminded him a little bit of him. So when he comes on board, he gets him to the Petty High School in Jersey, which is a well-known prep school to get these guys ready for college ball. And, it's funny, when I talked to Ayomanor about that specifically, I asked him about the hard work and the sacrifice. And I thought his response was so good and refreshing, because you tend to focus on the sacrifice. And he said to me, well, I didn't feel like I was sacrificing anything. I thought I was incredibly lucky and fortunate to have an opportunity to move from Medicine Hat, Alberta to a legitimately good prep school in the U.S. So he said to me, I was the worst player there. I was like, I got there and I'm like, oh, this is bad. And Dylan said, you're going to have to exert more patience with him than you normally would. Because, yeah, he's really raw. He's not going to be as good as the guys you got from all over the country. But the size, the speed, trust me. Work with him, be patient with him. We saw how it pays off.
And I want to talk about why he ended up only playing 9 high school games, because that's a massive story in itself. But also the fact that this guy is like 8th or 9th grade, ninth grade, moving to a new country, going to like a boarding school without his family, just going to take a chance on pursuing a dream. That says a lot about his motivation and his character and his determination and ability to actually thrive in an environment like that so far from home, but also preparing him for college and for life in the NFL when he is going to have to be self-disciplined if he wants to find success. So I think that's a really interesting aspect to the story. But talk to me, Justin. He only played 9 games. What happened?
So despite the challenges, he got off to a decent start. Sophomore, then he breaks his collarbone, right? So now he's fresh off an injury. Well, the coach who decided to bring him to Petty leaves the program, right? So now he decides to reopen his recruitment, and he ends up going to the program that was the #1 contender when it lost out to Petty. It's called Deerfield Academy in Massachusetts. There was a great relationship there between Justin Dillon and the coach at the time, Brian Barbado. He gets there, more challenges arise, right? COVID happens, and then he hurts his knee. He has like a bad knee injury. That's how he ends up only playing 9 games. It's his collarbone, it's COVID, and then it's a knee injury. So really was a big deal. So 9 games, his career's over. His high school career's over. What do? Coach Barbado, Justin Dillon, Ayomanor, they put together like this video, like almost like a huddle style video of him running routes. Some of it was him running routes against air. Some of it was against one of the DBs that was at Deerfield at the time that had a bunch of D1 offers himself. So that video goes out. Justin Dillon is sending it out. Coach Barbado is sending it out. Elic Ayomanor joked with me. I think my mom sent it to every D1 coach in the country. Like, they just kind of teamed up and got this video viral. And then the offers start rolling in. Notre Dame, Tennessee, Penn State, Duke. I think Kentucky was listed there. But what happens? I mean, Justin Dillon takes me all the way back. He goes, when I first met with his mom, they expressed a lot of interest in Stanford. Due to the academics, they still realize, hey, he's up against it here. He's a Canadian kid coming from Medicine Hat. There's only been one of us ever before. He's got to get a good education, in case this doesn't work out. So luckily for Justin Dillon, luckily for Elic, luckily for the mom who's involved in this, Stanford is among the offers. And for Elic's mother, for him himself, he knew that marrying athletics with academics was very important. He goes there, he puts together 2 really strong seasons at Stanford, and he enters the draft after that, back-to-back borderline 1,000-yard receiving seasons. Titans end up taking him in the 4th round this year, and he's off to a great start at training camp thus far.
And I think that speaks to his development, too. For a guy who showed up at high school as such a raw route runner, what was essentially sort of a redshirt first year at Stanford. I think that was probably where a lot of that development occurred, and then just comes out and explodes the next 2 seasons there and works himself up to being a 4th-round pick. And now he's going to try to defy even more odds, right, Justin? Because how many receivers have been drafted on day 3 of the draft in the last 5 years that have actually had more than 500 receiving yards as a rookie? I think there's been, 79 receivers drafted from rounds 4 to 7 since 2020, and only 6 of them have put out 500 yards in their first season. So Elic Ayomanor, I think, has a chance to defy these odds as well because, as you mentioned at the top, there's a role for him to go grab. If he has a great training camp and a great preseason, he could establish himself as one of the starting receivers in this group, as the X, or at the very least, one of the top rotational pieces that's playing a lot of snaps in this offense. And, he could have a chance to be one of Cam Ward's top targets behind Calvin Ridley and go out and have a 500-plus yard rookie season and become the 7th guy in that group. So a great story there, again, about Elic Ayomanor from our own Justin Melo. It is live on titansize.com if you missed it. Thanks for tuning in to this special mini-sode of the Music City Audible, talking about Elic Ayomanor's journey. We'll be back on Friday to recap Thursday's training camp practice. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, like it, drop a comment below, and we'll be back then. Until then, y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.